Hey everyone, and welcome to my technique of the week. We're going to be working with acrylic paint today, and I'm going to be demonstrating a foliage technique on how you can make your leaves relatively detailed, but still kind of keeping it loose. So when painting a tree, there's lots of different techniques you can do foliage. You can be quick and loose, you can be tedious and really detailed. This is kind of in the middle. So what I've already done is set up the shape of my tree here. I've already started some of the foliage here through the middle. What I want to do is just kind of explain how I layer the brush strokes to create a three-dimensional shape. So you can see what I do here is I work in bunches. So I kind of look at the tree and I look at the foliage as sections, and what I do is I work in each section and then tie them together. All I'm going to do today though is focus on the type of brush stroke I use and how I layer the paint to make the leaves start to look three-dimensional. So if you like these videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel and like and comment down below. If you have any questions, you can also comment down below and I'll help you out with those. Also, make sure you visit my website, timgagnon.com, for full-length online painting lessons in acrylic, oil, lots of subject matter from landscapes to animals to portraits. You name it, it's on there. Learn from me and other artists as well on timgagnon.com. So what we're going to do here is zoom right in. I'm just going to do this section here, show you the technique. We have our light source left to right here. So I'm going to do this section here explaining how I highlight and layer. The colors I'm using are alizarin crimson and cadmium orange. So two things you want to know about those two colors. Alizarin crimson is pretty translucent, so when you put it down there and it dries, the underneath colors show through. Orange is not quite as transparent, so as you lay down orange mixed in with alizarin crimson, the color gets a little bit more and more opaque, and you start to get more and more saturation. So those are two big things to creating three-dimensional shape. Is you want to know how opaque the color is, how cool the color is, and then how saturated it is. The more saturated a color is, it's going to stand out, kind of look closer. The more cool and transparent, the further away. So what we're going to do is use alizarin crimson kind of deeper into the foliage and start adding orange as we come out towards the foreground to make three-dimensional shape. So I'm just using a small pointed round brush, and for my colors I've kind of been playing around with just using these containers as palettes. I've got alizarin crimson and cadmium orange, as I mentioned before. So the big thing, as you first put down layers, you're going to want to be more on the alizarin crimson side. You can do this for oil or acrylic. This is an acrylic painting, so I'm adding just a tiny bit of water to the brush to make the paint a little bit more fluid. So alizarin crimson is the mix I'm using right now with a little bit of orange. As we build up layers, I'll show you later, but we're going to add more and more orange. So the brush technique itself, just going to load my brush up here. So I'm working in this section here. So my light source is coming from left to right. So I want to make this as three-dimensional as possible. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take my brush and do these little leaf shapes out towards my light source. So I'm using the point of the brush to create a leaf shape. And like I mentioned before, you can go fast and loose or you can go slow and detailed. This is kind of a combination. So this is a tedious process here. Again, this is more alizarin. And as I'm adding in these leaf shapes, I want to think not all the leaves go the same way. So sometimes I'll point one that way, sometimes I'll do one pointing down, maybe one across. But I work in little bunches. So some of these leaves over here are all by themselves. And again, lots of different directions. But as you get into an area where there's more of a congregation of leaves, you're just going kind of quick and loose with that brush stroke. So if you were to want to make this even more detailed, you could just take your time a little bit more with this brush stroke and make sure that each one looks like a leaf. For me, as you stand away from a painting, everything kind of blends together, and you can't see every little individual leaf. So I really don't care if I'm getting every little one perfect. I just want to get the overall essence of what a leaf looks like. So half my brush strokes might be great, half of them might be a little bit sloppy, but actually that gives a little bit of movement to the tree, and I'm not worried about painting a photo. I'm worried about creating a painting that reads well, and has a nice painterly feel to it. If I wanted to paint a photo, I would take a lot more time. You know, it's a good technique to learn, but you want to have nice feel to your paintings. Alright, so you can see what I do is I build up the layers, and again I started with the alizarin, and I'm doing lots of little different directions. When I initially painted the block in of the tree, I used purple to kind of be a background color, or a color in the shadows. So again, painting lots of different little directions and just using the shape of the brush, the small pointed round brush, to create this leaf shape. So that's the first alizarin crimson layer. So now what I want to do is I want to start building out layers. So you start adding more of the cad orange to the brush, and you start picking out spots. So I'm going to work right within this section. Like I said, I like working in bunches. If our light source is coming left to right, I'm going to start right in the middle of this bunch. And what I do is I go to the ends of the previous leaves and paint in new ones. Sometimes I just go over a leaf shape that I did before and just make it a little more orange. But what I'm trying to do is go to the ends and make a little line of leaves. So that way I'm leaving a little bit of shadow in between them, which makes them look more three-dimensional. So right here, this leaf right here, I'm just going to highlight the end, so that way the half of it is alizarin crimson still, and it looks like it's going into shadow. So once I have a little line of leaves, what I'll do is I'll either move up or move down. This one I'll move up. So if I'm moving up a little bit here, light source is coming across, and this part, we need something that's casting the shadow right here. So we're going to put leaves above that. And again, lots of different directions. And again, not worried about getting perfect leaves every time. So the more orange it is, the more it stands out, and makes it a little bit more three-dimensional. And this is a technique that will take me, you know, 5 or 6 layers of doing this. So I'll slowly work up more and more orange. I'll just keep doing the same thing, just to give you an idea. If we were to go more orange, and if I was working in the same spot here, I would just pick out certain spots to highlight more. And I need to think about my shadows. So if I highlight this little line of leaves right here, and the light source is coming across, there's going to be a shadow underneath. So I want to leave a little gap right here and highlight down below, because there should be a shadow in here. So going out to the ends of the leaves, highlighting and leaving little bits of shadow. So you can start to see how that gets more and more three-dimensional. So now that I've created this bunch of leaves right here, you know, there'd be a little bit of a shadow under here. So I would start highlighting. Again, trying to go slow. I want to stay loose, but my layers can be slow. Again, this has got some transparency in the paint, especially the alizarin, so as it dries it's going to look a little bit different. So that's why I like to have a little bit of time in between each layer, because as it dries it's going to look a little different than as you're putting it on here wet. So shadow in here, but as we get up over here, maybe this part is back more in highlight. So all of those little gaps and spaces between your leaves is what's going to create three-dimensional shape. And always thinking about different shapes, and I'll go a little faster here. Different shapes, different directions on your leaf, that's all going to give the tree a lot more character. So this is a leaf technique I use if I want to have a tree that's a little more detailed but still has a loose feel to it. Like I said, you can go even more in depth with this leaf technique. You can take your time and paint every individual leaf very slowly, and you'll get more of a photorealistic type look to it. But I'm a fan of the technique of photorealism and the practice that goes along with it, but I like having my paintings a little bit looser and a little bit more colorful and things like that. So I like to go a little bit faster, a little bit more impatient as well, so that's always a factor. So one more time here, if you go a little bit brighter with your orange, you're picking out spots that are highlighted by the light, then shadows. So you're almost going to the end of the leaves and creating new ones, or highlighting the ends of some of the previous leaves that you already painted. If your paint gets a little sticky and it's not really flowing very well, you can use a flow medium, or you can use just a tiny bit of water to thin it out, make it flow a little bit better. Alright, so that's my leaf technique. You can see I worked within this bunch here. One last thing I want to mention, light source is coming across, highlighting the leaves here. It's going to cast a little bit of a shadow, so whenever you highlight a big area like this, the light's coming across, there are going to be leaves sticking out just far enough to catch the light. So you want to do some random highlights, you know, away from those bunches, and that's going to help create that three-dimensional shape that you're looking for as well. Alright, so I'm going to keep plugging away at this painting. Like I said, it is a tedious process, but very rewarding in the end. If you have any questions, make sure you comment down below. Please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching my video. And if you get a chance, make sure you check out timgagnon.com for all of your online painting lesson needs in oil and acrylic. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you again soon.